Roll call.
Chisel.
Here.
Neal.
Here.
Carlson.
Here.
Luce.
Here.
Johnson. What was there? We losing? Hadley.
Here.
And Zittergrun.
Here.
Okay, we do have two people that will be speaking on an item that is not on the agenda. And we have Rochelle Howe with Upper Explorerland Regional Planning Commission. And then the other person is Nathan Thompson, and they're going to be talking about the CDBG low income potential for funding. Do we have both of them on the call? I think I saw Nathan's name.
I am present, yes.
Oh, there's Nathan. And then Rochelle.
Well, I'll be happy to speak.
Okay.
Yep. Go ahead, Nathan. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I'll try not to take up too much of your time. I know that I am on public comment time here, so I'll keep it as brief as I can, depending on what questions you might have. So I did want to talk to council a little bit about what we've been talking with Chad about in terms of applying for a community development block grant. And as you know, our organization works quite extensively with CDBGs throughout communities in our 5-county region. And we have not had a CDBG grant with Decorah for housing before. There's a good reason for that, and that is that Decorah was not eligible to apply previously because it used to be based on median household income in a community. Well, now the rules have been revised a little bit, and instead of just looking at median household income for a community as a whole, when we make the application, we actually have to identify low to moderate income households that will be served by this program or could potentially be served by this program. So you might be seeing in the next few weeks some what we're calling pre-applications coming out. That's to gauge interest in this among the public for a couple of things, to see what kind of improvements people might be interested in. So when you apply to the CDBG housing programs, you can apply for a few different options on that. You can apply to help households with exterior improvements, to help households with energy efficiency improvements. And those are generally the two most popular ones. So we're really trying to determine what the community is looking for. The other thing is to determine eligible applicants for the program, of course. And so that's why we'll be working to publicize the availability of these pre-applications. One of the things I wanted to talk about a little bit was just what the CDBG program can do. I mentioned that it is improvements to homes. And of course, it is a low to moderate income persons who would be served by this, and homeowners. So a person has to own their home. It's a maximum of $24,999 worth of home repairs that can be done through this program. And it generally is pretty well received in the other communities that we've done these projects in. It seems to be a pretty popular one. So as you know, we do have some other programs that are cover our 5-county region. And these programs, the CDBG programs, are targeted specifically to one community. So you'll be seeing a little more of me in the next few weeks too, as we go through this application process. It is kind of a long application process. We do have to have council approve things at a few different points. We will be holding a public hearing to do a housing needs assessment. It's something that maybe sounds a little more involved and scarier than it really is. So we can get through that pretty quickly, I think. At the next meeting, I'll actually be proposing a contract between the city and Upper Explorerland to complete this application and get that sent in. So we're hoping to have this all wrapped up by late spring. So I threw a lot at you that wasn't on the agenda. Any questions right now?
Nathan, Andy Carlson here. For some of the other projects that you've seen, where do you see most of the projects go towards? Are they more towards, building rehabilitation or energy efficiency, or where would you say a majority of these projects, or what do they go towards?
Yeah. So I mean, if you think about one of the, if you're a low to moderate income homeowner and, our housing stock tends to be older, what are the biggest challenges that you're going to have? It's going to be kind of the big ticket items on your house that are starting to wear out. So the roof, the siding, the windows, doors, those tend to be the things that people have the biggest need for. But, we've seen plenty of houses where, people could benefit from a lot better insulation, from better energy efficiency improvements. We do a lot of furnace replacement, hot water heater replacement, that kind of thing. So I don't know if that totally answered the question, but it's basically anything on your home that's expensive and breaks.
Perfect.
Hey, Nathan, this is Chad. Maybe just touch on a little bit of the difference between this CDBG program and the Northeast Iowa Housing Trust Fund.
Sure, I'll try to do that without making everybody swim through acronyms. But the Housing Trust Fund program it's a great program, and it serves our 5-county region. And so we do have that trust fund that is funded partially through state funds and partially through local match from local communities. Decorah contributes, Winneshiek County contributes, basically every community in our 5-county region and county all contribute to this trust fund. And we do have a similar application process. However, it's a lot more broad in terms of who it can serve, because our income guidelines are a little more lenient, for one thing. And the other thing is that with trust fund, a lot of the money is a lot of the people that we serve end up getting low interest loans. So if you meet a certain income threshold, you qualify for a forgivable loan. If you're a step above that, it's a 1% loan, or a 0% loan rather. A step above that is 1%, step above that is a 2% loan. So we also have a $10,000 maximum for Housing Trust Fund. So, I mentioned that these are higher cost items that people often need in their home, and often there's more than one. So people kind of have to prioritize what they want. If they're getting to the point where they need a lot of home repairs and a lot of things are toward the end of their useful life, then you have to choose between replacing your windows, replacing your roof, replacing your furnace, because you can only use the trust fund once every couple of years. So.
Well, I really appreciate the work that you're going to be doing with this, and the expertise that you bring, and also Rochelle. And I also appreciate the fact that some of the guidelines have changed so that perhaps we can get people interested in doing it. I know that's been an issue in the past, but it's definitely a concern that we have citywide.
Yeah, I think it's a terrific change, because we know that, Decorah could never apply for one. Well, we know we have low to moderate income households in Decorah that could really use some of these funds. So yeah, I'm really excited to be working with the city on this. And like I said, you'll be hearing from me pretty soon.
Okay, any other questions?
Thanks, Nathan.
Yeah, and I should mention that Chad has my email, and you can just call down to the Upper Explorer Land office if you have any questions for me, all right?
That'd be great.
Thanks
a lot,
everyone.
Nathan.
Appreciate your time.
Is there anybody else who wishes to speak to the council on anything other than what's on the agenda? Don't see any. So we'll go to the consent agenda.
Consent agenda consists of minutes of the January 19, 2021 regular meeting, the claims, Resolution 3154, accepting Upper Ridge Road Phase 2 as complete, change order number 3, Upper Ridge Road Phase 2 in the amount of $11,782.90, Resolution 3155, declaring necessity and providing for notice of public hearing on proposed urban revitalization plan for the Decorah Commerce Drive Urban Revitalization Area. Resolution 3158, setting a date for a public hearing on proposed plans and specifications, estimate of cost, and proposed form of contract for the construction of the 2021 Dry Run Plaza project, and directing the city engineer to post notice for taking bids for the hearing for March 1, 2020 at 5:45 p.m. Resolution 3159, setting a date for a public hearing on proposed plans and specifications, estimate of cost, and proposed form of contract for the construction of the 2021 Pole Line Road Bridge Reconstruction Project, and directing the city engineer to post notice of taking bids. Hearing on March 1, 2021, 5:45 p.m. Renewal Class C liquor license for Your Place, including Sunday sales and outdoor service area privileges. Renewal Class C beer wine for Mabes, including Sunday sales. Renewal Class E liquor license for Hy-Vee, including Class B wine, Class C beer, and Sunday sales privileges. Acceptance of the fiscal 20 audit report.
Mayor, this is Luce. I would move the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Thanks, Nina.
Ms. Neal.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Luce,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Chisel,
Aye.
Zittergrun,
Aye.
Hadley,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Carlson.
Okay. Public hearing on the proposed fiscal 22 maximum levy rate.
I had a few background notes there, and as you know, for the council and maybe for members of the public, this is the second year of a new requirement from the state for cities to publish a maximum levy rate, and to do so before the public hearing and enaction of the actual budget. So I've kind of provided a little bit of background on that. I do want to ask Wanda if she wants to go through the numbers a little bit or answer any questions that the council may have or members of the public on what the max levy actually is or what those numbers mean.
Make sure she turns on her mic, please.
Yeah, we can't hear Wanda.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Like I have said in the past, this max levy rate really does not mean a lot. I have all your employee benefits in there, the maximum amount that we need for employee benefits. You have already decided that you're going to use some fund balance to pay for some of those, but I've got the entire amount in the max levy. I've also put in some money from the emergency levy, just so that you would have your options. But of course that, as we moved forward with the budgetary process, that was probably not going to be possible this year. But I had put it in the max levy resolution just in case. Everyone should remember that this does not include any voted levies, and it does not include your debt service. So it is misleading in that respect. But otherwise, this is a formality that the state did start requiring last year.
Is there anybody who wishes to speak at this public hearing? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. Consider Resolution 3156 approving the proposed fiscal year 22 maximum levy rate.
Mayor, this is Luce, and I would move that resolution 3157.
3156.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Motion made by Luce,
I'll second it.
Yeah.
second by Johnson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Luce,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Carlson.
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Hadley,
Aye.
Chisel,
Aye.
Zittergrun.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Resolution 3157, setting a public hearing for the proposed fiscal year 22 budget, being March 15th, 2021, at 5:45.
I'd move for approval of Resolution 3157.
Moved by Johnson.
Zittergrun,
Sorry,
second.
Chisel,
Zittergrun, second.
seconded by Zittergrun. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Chisel,
Aye.
Zittergrun,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Carlson,
Aye.
Luce,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Hadley.
Aye.
Motion pass. Public hearing on zoning code amendments, chapter 17.14, floodplain management ordinance, 17.120, F1 floodplain district in the city of Decorah. And it gives just a bit of background on that, Chad.
Little background. I'll kind of read from my background notes and then elaborate as necessary. The Planning and Zoning Commission is recommending support of the recommendations from FEMA through the Iowa DNR on a template amendment to the city's floodplain management ordinance. Proposed amendments to the section are proposed and recommended by the DNR to bring our floodplain management codes into alignment with FEMA and DNR standards ahead of anticipated adoption of the FIRM, or the flood insurance rating maps, which the DNR tells me should be coming later this summer, early fall. We'll keep our fingers crossed for that, but they recommend these changes, almost a template adoption of recommendations from FEMA and the DNR for this code section. And I did note that last time these code sections were amended or tweaked by the city, 17140 floodplain management was in 2008, thereabout. And some of those revisions and amendments, I think, were in response to the 08 flooding. And then 17120 was in 2003. I'm not sure what those amendments entailed. Just note that those were the last time that these code sections were amended. There have been no comments received at City Hall on these. Planning and Zoning Commission did spend a couple of meetings kind of go through them as well. But again, generally, it's a template from the DNR, and so staff recommends approval.
Is there anybody who wishes to speak to this public hearing? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. Consider ordinance 2163, zoning code amendments, chapter 17.14, floodplain management ordinance, 17.120, F1 floodplain district in the city of Decorah, and this is the first reading.
I'd move for approval of Ordinance 2163.
Motion moved by Chisel,
Johnson will second.
second by Johnson. Any discussion? Roll call.
Chisel,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Luce,
Aye.
Carlson, Andy, did he give a
Aye.
thumbs?
Aye.
Oh, okay.
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Hadley,
Aye.
Zittergrun.
Aye.
Ordinance unanimously passed.
Luce would move the waiving of the second and third and adopt.
Hadley would second.
Luce moved to waive second and third and adopt, second by Hadley. Any further discussion?
I would like to give it one more meeting, just so it gets out in the public now in a more formal sense, to see if we get any feedback.
I agree.
Okay, the motion's been made and second, so you vote accordingly, I believe. Any other discussion? Roll call?
Luce?
Aye.
Hadley?
Aye.
Neal?
Nay, no.
Chisel?
No.
Zittigern?
No.
Johnson?
No.
Carlson?
No.
Motion fails.
Okay, motion failed. We'll have the second, let's see, that's correct. The second reading will be at the next city council meeting.
Yes.
How did Zittergoon vote?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Nay? No.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
Okay, consider ordinance 1261 amending chapter 17 zoning related to storage containers in the city of Decorah, third reading.
I would move.
Luce would move 1261, third reading.
And adopt.
Moved,
And adopt.
Correct.
moved for passage and adopt by Luce. I'm looking for a second.
Zittergren second.
Who had the second? Okay. Seconded by Zittergren. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Luce?
Aye.
Zittigern?
Aye.
Chisel?
Aye.
Neal?
Aye.
Carlson?
Okay.
Johnson?
No.
Hadley?
Aye.
Motion carried and adopted. Continue the public hearing on purchase and development agreement with the 3 Chick S Rental LLC for city land. This is a continuation.
Okay, this is a continuation of the public hearing that was started on January 19 regarding the development agreement and sale of public land known as the Fox and Coon Club. And I think last time we had opened the public hearing and then I had asked the council to continue it because I hadn't completed some negotiations with the potential developer, Kelly Batchelder, regarding some of the easements and property descriptions. I have concluded those negotiations with Kelly and would basically say this, that the sale of the property would not include utility easements along the south side of the property running in a diagonal fashion, generally northeast to southwest, other than the utility easements that are already in place. Obviously, there's no disagreement or discussion about those. There are utilities in place in the southeast corner of the proposed property for sale, and those will remain. That's where the water and sewer terminate, existing water and sewer terminate. But we have negotiated out approximately a proposed 30-foot utility easement that would run across that south boundary line. And part of the reason for that is that it's really kind of unknown what those utility extensions may look like in the future. And Kelly's concerned that it may encumber his use of that property either wholly by itself as it's developed, or if it's conjoined with his existing facilities and the two become one, how an easement across that property might restrict proposed development there. I have preserved access off of Highway 9 to the drainage channel or to the levee system to the west, and that would be noted as city property with an easement to Kelly for access, and then what we would call the driveway to the property, which is on city property, would be retained as city property with a 30-foot access easement granted to Kelly to access the back part of that property should his plans warrant a separate driveway and not looking at coming across his existing property. The development agreement itself hasn't necessarily changed a whole lot. There was an updated version dropped in your Dropbox, but I think it was primarily some legal language cleanup. Probably the only other item of note, but I think we had talked about it before, is if the developer doesn't complete the project within the specified period of time, that the city would have the right to repurchase the real estate at 100% of the cash price. John, I would ask maybe if there's anything else that I'm not covering as far as the public hearing portion of this conversation?
No, I'm sorry, can you hear me, Chad?
Yes.
Okay. No, you covered everything sufficiently. Key point that you brought up was the utility easement and the fact that we would not have a route for our utilities to basically go from Highway 52 west with this through this property, and we'd have to find an alternative route. Not that I'm aware of any plans to do that.
No. Chad, how much did we spend on utilities to run utilities over there?
I think that project was about $350,000 for water and sewer, maybe more or less.
Yeah, I think that's.
When I talked to you last week, sorry, Chad, when I talked to you last week, you told me that, I mean, the impression I got was that it was pretty vital that we have that utility easement, correct?
Yeah, it was a pretty important piece. You know, I think as we talk around it, you know, we don't know what growth is going to look like to the west, certainly as far as utilities go. The other thing is, if a building is built on the Fox and Coon Club property and utilities are run up to that, it's possible that utilities could be extended from that point west as well. There's just an awful lot of unknowns, right?
So, but we don't have the option. So essentially right now, if we don't get that utility easement into this property, we do not have the option to go west with the water that we already brought out there.
Well, water we could. You know, in talking with our engineers, the water comes across more south on 52. And, you know, water could run along the right-of-way of Highway 9, right, on the south side, on the north side of the right-of-way, on the south side of the current Ford store. Water is not as big an issue. Water can go just about anywhere. And it is possible to run water through the DOT right-of-ways, right? It's the sewer that's a bigger issue. But my understanding is if you were trying to get sewer to, let's say, the Holland plant there under the channel to the west, it's probably a force main situation with a lift station anyway because there's no fall. And that makes it less critical to devise a route today because, again, like water with a force main, it could just about go anywhere.
Okay, so why was it critical last week but not this week?
Our engineers are recommending that, you know, we retain easements when we can, right? But as we talk around it, with so many unknowns, there are other options available.
What was the reason that they wouldn't give the
Well, it kind of goes back to what I said before. That easement, if recorded in there, cuts that property. And if he were to conjoin the current Ford store and the Fox and Coon Club property, that easement cuts it in two. And it would make it difficult for him to just simply expand the Ford store to the north because generally you don't want people building over an easement, right? Certainly parking.
But he could. Go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say, certainly you could build a parking lot over an easement. Of course, there'd be discussion over if you ran water and sewer through there, who would replace the parking lot. But certainly that's less expensive than if he expanded the Ford store over that line and now you got a building over that easement. Now what do you do? And again, the other thing that we talked through is if that were a condition, you know, we do an awful lot of boring around here. So could you bore under a building in a different route? Could you bore under a parking lot in a different route? The more we talked through those things with the different options available, at least in my perception, the less important an easement defined today with unknowns became important.
So if there was an easement in place and he wanted to do something on our easement, he could come to the city and ask us to do something on the easement. But at this point, if we want to do something, we have to go and ask him to do something, correct?
That would be right.
So again, I don't understand why we would, if our engineers tell us we shouldn't sell a property without an easement, and we're now talking about selling a property without an easement, seems like that we don't have a plan for, that we don't have a plan for the money for. It seems to be that a property, if someone wants this property bad enough, they could buy it with our easement. And if they've got a site plan on it and they're like, this is what I want to do, and we look at it and say, okay, for that, I don't know, I guess seems like we're given an awful lot.
As a continuation of public hearing, is there anybody that is on the line that wants to speak to this public hearing? I don't see anybody. So then I would suggest we close the public hearing and then continue your discussion. In considering resolution 3152, approving a purchase and development agreement with Chick S. Rental LLC for city land, and now continue the discussion that you were just having.
I would just like to add, I think that the cut, that is the I don't know, viaduct or whatever we call it, is a complicating feature of that property going west. And you can't just run, I don't know that you can just run a sewer line, through the middle of that. You'd have to either go under it or over it. And I think that the likelihood of that happening anytime soon is maybe remote.
I would agree, Kurt.
Utility easement.
That'd be very remote that we expand out west.
Wasn't that the sole purpose of running water and sewer that way?
Why did we run water and sewer that way then?
Because the car dealership.
Giant waste of $350,000 then.
Well, I mean, what did Berg Home, Farm and Home empty building assess at versus what the new car dealership does, right? So you've already recovered more than your input, and if you sell this and it's developed, it's certainly more than if you don't sell it, and the Fox and Coon Club continues to be there with their own private septic system.
So we spent $350,000 on economic development only to sign an agreement that hinders economic development.
There are other ways to get west if we need to in the future, I believe.
Kirk, you just said it's super complicated, so why would we complicate it even more?
Well, no, I mean, even if you have an easement, you still have to cross. You have to cross that viaduct one way or the other.
Doesn't make a lick of sense to me, but go ahead and do it, you guys.
It doesn't make sense to me either.
I would move for approval of resolution 3152.
Luce would second that.
Motion made by Chisel, second by Luce. Any other further discussion? Hearing
So we're
none?
going to sell, oh, and I'd just like to say one more thing. We're going to sell a property that we don't know the plan for, of which we have a project for which we have no plan for.
For land value that's only going up.
The land value that's going up. Makes no sense.
So in the RFP and in the submitted proposal and then the subsequent development agreement, it's proposed that it's annexed and zoned to commercial for a commercial use. But through that whole process, we didn't get any more specific than that in terms of what type of commercial development, only that it has to be commercial development in a certain period of time.
And no abatements, correct?
And that they would not ask for tax abatements, right? So we know it'll be commercial in a certain period of time. And you'll see, I mean, you still have to go through the site plan process, et cetera, right?
And you don't have a lease. We don't have an active lease with the Fox and Coon Club because they thought $25 a month was too high. And you have water and sewer to that property now. So you can either say that we spent $350,000 to bring water and sewer to something that we don't have an active lease on, or you can sell it to somebody who's going to actively develop it, make it commercial, and increase the property tax base. I think the optics are better to reclassify.
Further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Chisel,
Aye.
Luce,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Carlson,
No.
Neal,
No.
Hadley,
Aye.
Zittergrun.
Aye.
Motion carries. Board and commission appointments. I'm bringing forth Sandia Caden for Human Rights Commission. This is a new appointment.
I'd move for approval.
Moved by
Zittergren seconds.
Moved by Chisel, seconded by Zittergrun. Any further discussion? Hear none, roll call.
Chisel,
Aye.
Zittergrun,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Hadley,
Aye.
Carlson,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Luce.
Aye.
And thank you for your willingness to serve.
Thank you for serving.
Okay, city manager, department head and council report. City manager?
I don't have notes here a whole lot. I know, Ross, I'm going to jump on your committee here a little bit. I know you want to have a conversation regarding East Main and some possible assessments maybe on February 8th for a street committee meeting. So I just wanted to make sure I reminded you about that. Thank you for entertaining the CDBG. I think that's a good program, and I'm looking forward to the application coming forward from Upper Explorerland. I continue to work on the Big Yellow House on 701 Maple. We did do an asbestos inspection, and I'm awaiting full analysis of that information so we can keep that project moving. I did have somebody reach out to me over the weekend inquiring about how they could bid on some of the salvage inside, which have at it, right? But we'll put together a little a bid scenario for that. This person was interested in the doors. So we'll continue to work on that as we get to a closing date and get these other things kind of lined up. So with that, I think that's all I have. There are departmental reports in your Dropbox from each of the departments. So with that, that's all I have, Mayor.
Wanda?
I have nothing this evening.
Okay. Let's see, nothing else on the department. Let's see, Steve Luce.
Yes, just recently in your Dropbox, the sort of downtown assessment review has been put, and we've sort of put together a paper that suggests how the city wants to go. So we'd encourage you to read that and be aware of it, and list any concerns you have, share with us so that we can begin presenting this to local community entities.
This is Chad, Steve, just to expand on that a little bit. So at the last meeting when we talked about the downtown assessment, the direction of the council was to draft kind of a cover letter for the full assessment that could go to the different organizations downtown, the Chamber, Economic Development, Betterment, SMID, Retail Committee, et cetera. So this document that's in your Dropbox feels like a cover letter from the mayor and the council to those organizations, kind of outlining your thoughts and touching on some of the key points, and then asking them for engagement and input to a common goal as you address the assessment. So that's the form of the letter that's in your Dropbox. So any feedback is appreciated.
Anything else?
Happy February. Be careful tomorrow might keep repeating.
Wait, can we just have an economic development meeting if we want feedback on the letter, or how do we talk about that now?
Well, I thought the direction was that you'd craft this cover letter, if you will, or invitation, and that it seemed to me, if I recall, that you had appointed Kirk and Steve Luce and Randy to go visit with these different groups and then bring information back. But maybe you want to do something different.
No,
Mayor?
I think that's fine. I just didn't know how to give feedback on a letter when you can't.
Oh, on the letter itself, just send it back to me or Steve.
Okay.
We're authoring the letter, so.
Okay. Ross.
As Chad mentioned, I'd like to have a street committee meeting on February 8th at 5 p.m., if that works for people, to discuss and finalize the assessment aspect of the East Main project. Does that work for everyone?
Is that what we talked about at our assessment or our works council session?
Yep, we're just going to firm it up and then bring it back.
Okay.
Okay, so that could go into the work session.
No, I want it on the 8th.
You want it before then? I got it. I thought he said February 8th.
Yep.
Yeah.
Committee
Okay,
meeting on the
gotcha.
8th.
Okay, I'm going to assume that's good because I'm not getting feedback from people.
Hey, I think so.
Okay. And then just a reminder to our citizens and our city to shovel. There are places that are still remaining unshoveled, and with the frost and thaw, it turns into ice and becomes more of a problem. If you do see a property that's not shoveled, please contact City Hall, and we will help remind the people to take care of it. But it's everyone's responsibility to make sure that their sidewalks and the access into the streets are clear for walkers and other abled people. Thank you.
There was a press release that was sent out, about 4:30 this afternoon, about that very subject. So it was just sent out this afternoon.
Thank you for doing that. That's a great idea.
And also weren't they going to wasn't there to be kind of a door hanger that could be sent to the, put on the households as well?
That will be sent to the printer tomorrow to make up those door hangers.
Okay, that sounds good.
So I have a question about the even odd parking during a snow emergency or after a snow emergency. Now, my street is a one-way, and our people, my neighbors, seem to be reluctant to not park on the open side of the street because the other side of the street is not open for parking otherwise. So is that a major problem, or should we do an education campaign just in this area or not?
See, maybe Jeremy?
Yeah, Kirk, I can speak to that. I believe the code says that the snow emergency dictates we have the same issue on Day Street, and people do move over to the side that's posted for no parking. So we would ask that on Leif Erikson to do the same. I know it's a little uneasy to do that, but I think our PD is aware of when we've been trying to do a better job announcing the snow emergencies with time, so folks know. So yeah, I'd say the snow emergency is what we want driving parking.
Okay, thank you.
And on that note, I did have someone ask me, is it even or odd when we declare the snow emergency, or is it the evening of? So we declare a snow emergency, but it snows that night. Are you, when do we start? Is it the day before, or is it midnight, the day of the declaration?
That's a good question. That's the one we've received a few times. I would say we don't expect people to go out at 12:01 a.m., right, and move their cars. I think in the evening hours, we would expect people to move to be prepared for the next day. We tend to plow very early in the morning. So we'd prefer people to be in anticipation of the following day, if that makes sense. So sometime in the evening, switch over to, like today is an odd day. So if you were going on your way home now, park on the even side for tomorrow.
Okay. Andy,
Nothing this evening, Mayor.
Steve Zittigruin.
I'll just say that I've been working as liaison with the MEU working group, and I'll just say that so far that group of people's been very self-giving of their time and talents and working really hard. I don't have anything in particular to report yet, but they've done a lot.
Thank you. Emily.
I would report on the Sustainability Commission did meet for the month of January. They, I was not able to attend that meeting, but I did follow up with Jim just to get a report for the council. They are currently working on, they had the prior month gone through what they had accomplished in 2020. Each of the groups right now, the breakout groups are working on 2021 priorities based on council feedback and the number system in the sustainability plan, and I think they went through that this month, and then we'll be setting targets for this coming year.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and then the only other, that's all I have. Oh, there's a public safety committee. I knew there's one thing. Public safety committee meeting right after this.
Okay. Kirk.
Nothing, Mayor.
Okay, for me, I actually did set up a meeting with the economic people for February 10th at noon. That's Chisel, Lucen Johnson, Chad, and myself. And so Stephanie's got that on the calendar, and we'll bring back information for the next city council meeting. Anything else to come before the city council?
Well, I have a question. Is that meeting about the letter and the plan, or about?
No, that's the discussion between the city and the economic development as far as just generally getting people together, talking about what projects they've got going on so that there's better communication between the council and that committee. That's
Okay, because I am on economic development committee, so in general, I'd like to be at those meetings.
I think the reason, let's see, now we would have three, I think there were 3 council people, or there can be 4? Okay, I think the piece was that we sent 3 because it wasn't going to be a public meeting,
Okay.
but you can definitely chat with the other ones that have gone and see, and then maybe at some point just trade off going.
No, that's fine. I thought you said it was an economic development committee meeting, and therefore I was like,
Yeah, no, so, anything else?
Mayor, I forgot to mention, I spoke on Sunday to the Citizens Climate Lobby Midwest chapter, did a Zoom webinar on our sustainability plan and the efforts that the city has put forth regarding sustainability, and how it was kind of spearheaded by Mayor Arndt's signing of the 2006 Mayor's Climate Accord. And it was quite well attended, and there are a couple cities that are going to be reaching out and looking at our sustainability plan as well. And I spoke to one of the directors of Lincoln, Nebraska's public utility, and had a really interesting discussion with him on their power system as well. So it was cool.
Well, thank you for doing that. Appreciate that, the exposure from the city. I'll move for adjournment.
I have nothing.
Mayor, if the third Monday is President's Day, is that not a holiday? So we will be meeting. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay.
To adjourn.
Okay, now we're going to move to adjourn. We'll move into the Public Safety Committee meeting.